What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Heavyweight Nation podcast. And today we're joined by a very special guest. We got a dad, athlete, musician, coach. The guy has pretty much done everything. Influencer. The
Yes,
guy's
sir.
pretty
Yes,
much
sir.
done everything that you can. We got Reece Humphreys here. Reece, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much, man. That's quite the
Of
introduction,
course.
man. I
Of
appreciate you.
like I was trying to think like what do I say to introduce this guy because you've done so much stuff.
All
Like
right.
I'm like I gotta just put it all in there.
Hey, one
So
thing I'm not though is a heavyweight, but I'm here.
yeah, we've kind of drifted away from our roots. We used to only invite heavyweights onto the
Right,
podcast,
right.
and then we were
Uh,
like, you know what? We probably got a lot more followers if we just posted everybody. So
Heavyweight personalities. I
yeah,
got you.
that heavyweight personalities. We've also talked to a lot of guys that eat like heavyweights, but are just they got that good metabolism that us big boys lack. So
That's not me. That's not me.
well, obviously, like I said, welcome to the show, and we kind of want to just get started on where did Reece Humphreys begin? What was who got you into the sport? Talk about a little bit what wrestling was like in the
Yeah,
beginning.
man. So I didn't start till sixth grade, actually wrestling. I was wrestling with my brother a lot in the living room. My dad coached for the Olympic team in '88 for USA, and '84 for Canada. And so I'm sure he was teaching me a lot of stuff while I was wrestling my brother in the room. But one of the best gifts he ever gave to me was not pushing me into the sport. Wrestling's so hard, you got to do it for yourself. And so I think he understood that to the max. And so I'm sure he was teaching me a lot of stuff, but he really didn't even, I never really grasped who he was as a competitor or a coach until much later. Even after sixth, seventh grade, I started to understand it. He would come into practice and be like, Dad, you're good at push-ups, but what are you doing trying to coach practice? Little did I know he's one of the best coaches of all time. So I didn't really get in because my dad, I'm sure he did some Jedi brain tricks on me to make me want to try wrestling. But my brother wrestled in sixth grade, and some of my friends were wrestling in middle school, and I just naturally was drawn to the sport. But yeah, so I'm sure he influenced me, but didn't push me. But yeah, that's how I got in sixth grade.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of people, say like these super young ages, but as of lately, we've heard a lot of these elite level guys getting into it in the middle school level. And I think it almost helps kind of prevent that burnout from, you go from wrestling till when you're 6 years old until you're 25, 26 in college. You got to eventually hit a little bit of a man, I don't like doing this anymore.
I see a lot of these Tulsa national champs. They've won six Tulsa titles, and then you never see them again. Most of the time, they're doing it for their dad. It's their dad's ego, and they think that they're wrestling through their kid. They take the losses harder than the kids do, and it's not sustainable for a lot of people. There's some people that really like to be pushed like that, and they continue to push themselves after that, and it's a loving relationship. But man, I see some of these youth tournaments. It's
I'm
some of
sure
the
you
most
being a
toxic
dad,
places.
yeah,
Yeah,
you being a
bro.
dad
Yeah.
going to these
Hmm.
tournaments, I'm sure you've seen a lot of screaming in faces, and it's just
Yeah,
it's not good for the sport.
a lot of these kids are crying when they come off the mat, not because they lost, but because they got to deal with their parent. I'm like, man, that you're missing it. You're really missing it. So don't be that.
100%. So, was wrestling kind of a nature to you? Do you think you kind of just found wrestling and thought, I'm pretty good at this in the beginning, or did you have some hardships in the beginning of your career?
Well, of course, there's going to be hardships, but for me, not very many. And I think it's pretty rare and pretty lucky. So I'm dealing with that with my son right now. He's he's a very good wrestler, but we're in New Jersey, and New Jersey kids are just very good. And so starting at sixth grade is tougher now. He actually started a couple of years ago. He's in sixth grade now, but these kids are very, very good. Like these kids are trying to win Tulsa, trying to win the state tournament in Jersey, and yeah, and so there was definitely hardships, but for me, I wrestled in Indiana, and my dad must have taught me some good stuff. There was a lot of stuff he didn't have to teach me. I just kind of knew which way to float and which way to go. But I was undefeated all through middle school. And I mean, maybe lost a couple matches in freestyle and Greco, but I was kind of just tearing everybody up. And I was the lightest kid, so I was wrestling mostly sixth graders in sixth grade, and so not too many hardships in middle school, but boy, did they come later. And I'm sure we'll get into it because you can't wrestle for very long without running into some hardships.
100%. And, I feel like those hardships almost create a better wrestler. How you respond to those hardships is how you're going to see yourself in the future, not only as a wrestler, but as a husband, as a father, as, stuff like that. I feel like wrestling teaches so much more than just pushing each other around and taking each other down. It's a lot more of a mental game.
Yeah, yeah. And so for me, it was easier to deal with the hardships as an athlete. When you take a bad loss or you having a really hard time cutting weight, it's the end of the season, you're starting to struggle with it. It's just long. I could always just handle that myself internally because being an athlete, you have to be really selfish and there's no one else that gets to go out there. You have to just be the one that takes that ownership. But as a dad or as a coach, um, that is where you really get tested. So you're not just beating yourself up, you get 10 guys beating you up. All your athletes are beating you up in different ways, and they're all just trying to be the best they can. And you want every single one of them to get the most attention, but you're getting pulled a bunch of different directions. And you just have to continue to move forward. So being a dad is just like getting kicked in the nuts and just moving forward, dealing with it. How many times you can get kicked in the nuts, keep moving forward, and do the best thing next. And man, and it just keeps happening. All the hardships. Some of them are all good, but it's a lot of work. But as long as you keep moving forward and do the next thing, and your best interest and their best interest, doesn't matter what happened 5 minutes ago. You got to keep moving forward, and you got to deal with it.
100%, man. So let's kind of keep rolling here with your career. You get yourself into high school, and what was high school like for you wrestling wise?
So I wrestled in Indiana, so one division, so very hard to win, but not as deep as a place like Jersey or PA or Ohio, but definitely a very hard state to win because it's only one division. So I got to wrestle some guys that I could beat up. I got to wrestle some guys that could really challenge me, and then there was always a few in the state that I really had to train for and struggle with, and it really helped me in my progress on how to zone in on certain guys and how to game plan and things like that. And our team was two-time state champs my junior year and my senior year, and no recruiting. We just coached them up, and credit to our high school coach, Brett Krausor, and Tom Corbett, and then credit to my dad. And once again, one of the greatest coaches of all time. I'll put his credentials up against anybody. And this is adding to it to me. He took these two middle schools that funneled into the high school, and there was guys. We had 7 guys ranked number 1 in the state at one point, and I was the only one to win. What a heartbreaking semifinal that was our senior year.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
like that's.
Brutal, man. I won, and I was as upset as
Yeah, I was gonna
any of
say,
them.
yeah. At that point, it's like your team going 1 for 7 in the semifinals.
Oh
It's like,
God, horrible. Six thirds.
yeah,
Six thirds. So
six
brutal.
third places
Uh-huh.
is
Yeah,
rough.
brutal. But yeah, those guys were training with me. And so guys 3 weight classes below me and 2 above me were ranked number 1, and then our heavyweight. So shout out heavyweight nation. Let's go.
Gotta love to hear that. So obviously, like you said, you captured yourself a couple state titles, couple team titles. So were you a guy that was heavily sought after coming out of high school to go to colleges and take did you take those big tours and everything like that? And talk to me about how wrestling developed after that.
Yeah, so it's Indiana, so there's not a ton of recruiting out of Indiana. Not, I mean, there definitely is the top guys, but I'd won Fargo, and that was back when Fargo was the only national tournament. Everybody that was good went to Fargo. There was no Cadet World Team Trials. I think that's the pinnacle right now. Cadet World Team Trials, Junior World Team Trials. So Fargo was the pinnacle, and I had won that in Greco and got second in freestyle. And in a time where the seniors a lot of times didn't go to Fargo if they were already committed. So I was a senior. I love freestyle and Greco so much, and I had been third a couple times. So I just really wanted to get that stop sign, and I won in Greco. And then in my 20th match of the weekend, I lost in the finals of freestyle. But
Do you remember who
that's
beat
where
you?
Mitch Mueller, I believe. Yeah, Mitch Mueller. But yeah, I don't know. I got excuses out the ass, but I won't even
20
make them
matches
because
in one weekend is
yeah,
is a lot.
yeah, a
That's
couple pounds underweight. Something happened to me, but that's besides the point. It was he's a really good wrestler, and he got the best of me there. But that's when I really started getting recruited. I got recruited after big freestyle tournament. I won the U20s when I was 16, so I was a sophomore. It was the first time I was eligible to wrestle in that. I
wow.
beat 3 All-Americans in my weight, and back when I just didn't know who they were, I was just throwing the kitchen sink at these guys, and things were working. My dad actually took me to the tournament hoping I'd win a match. And I beat three All-Americans, college All-Americans as a sophomore in high school, and won the tournament. So that's when I first met Joe Heskett. He was coaching at Cal Poly. He ended up being one of my coaches at Ohio State. And a bunch of people were trying to figure me out at that point. No one was officially recruiting me, but that's when I got on the radar. And then, of course, when I won Fargo, I was ranked, top one, top two in the country. So pretty heavily sought after. I chose Ohio State for a couple of reasons. I had really great training partners, Jay Jaggers, TJ Enright, and my dad was actually on staff there just for that year, because after that they cleaned house and Tom Ryan and Lou Roselli came in. But when I was choosing Ohio State, we went to the Big Tens. I had already committed. Ohio State got 11th place out of 11. So I was like, damn, what did I get myself into? But I knew the reasons why I went there. Jaggers, TJ Enright, right around my weight. We were going to be really good. And then I was confident we were going to do well with Russ Hellickson. Lance Palmer was coming in too, but when Tom came in, it changed for the better there as well. And so the motivation, the hunger was all there. Lou Roselli was phenomenal, and the rest is history. We got second, eighth, I think when I
Wow.
was there. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's incredible. So you get to Ohio State, and what was that kind of like for you, going from this kind of an elite level high school kid? What was that adjustment like for you going to college?
Um, it's hard. Today we have the RTCs. So these young kids that are really good, they get their hands on college guys, they get their hands on senior level guys way before we could in the past. So, I mean, I didn't wrestle anybody in college until I got to college. I definitely didn't get my hands on any senior level guys. And so I made the adjustment fairly quick. I think people, when the bar is only so high in high school, you can get to that bar and you can kind of make small gains past it. But when you jumped in the college room and you're surrounded by a much higher level, the bar gets raised, and some people can fold under that pressure. Some people can just jump up right to the next bar. So that's what's so great about these RTCs, getting your hands on guys who are really doing it at the highest level. You can jump to that bar, or at least as high as your potential is. And like when we brought Stever in, he was not ready when he first walked in the room. And then wrestling myself, Sean Bunch, Angel Escobedo, Henry Cejudo was in there for a little bit, Jaggers, Tomasello, the list goes on. He jumped at in literally a month. We would whoop his ass, and then a month later, he started beating us. I'm like, oh, who is this kid? And it's Logan Stever, four-time Big Ten, four-time national world champ. There's a reason why he was that good. But yeah, man, some people can really step up their game, and so I had my little difficulties in the beginning, but I was pretty good my true freshman year. Yeah.
Talk about a name drop right there. Holy, some of those names you just mentioned,
Right, isn't that
like
wild? What one of the best.
crazy.
We were like Dagestan, bro. We had
Yeah,
we had quite the room there for a little bit.
yeah, 100%. That was crazy to me that you just named off all those people and you think where they're at now. Like you
Right,
got
right.
UFC, multiple time UFC champ. You got
Mhm.
yourself, NATO, Steber, Jaggers. Like those,
That was our Shark Tank,
yeah,
like yeah,
that
yeah.
talk about a
We would
murderer's row.
yeah,
You
bro.
get
We
a
used to
couple of those
wrestle.
guys lined up.
I know, yeah. We were ready for the tournament no matter what it was, and so
Mhm.
Roselli pushed us really hard. We would do 10 threes, 10 3-minute goes, and those would be my partners. Go all the way through, and then I'd wrestle Johnny DeJulius, and that would that would be our day off or our go off. But he's phenomenal as well.
That's
But man,
crazy.
and then that was just the lightweights, bro. We had 5 out of 7 on the world team at one point at the Ohio RTC with myself, Angel Escobedo, Keith Gavin's a head coach now as well. Angel's coaching at IU. JD Bergen was on the team. Rod Delagna is doing really well coaching at Nebraska. And yeah, bro, and then me.
Wow, that's crazy to think that many people from one team are on one world team. Like
Yeah, and
that's
then it was
insane.
Burrows and Metcalf to finish the world team out of 7. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was it was a cool time for us.
awesome team. Yeah. So wrapping up your college career, like as an overview, what do you think that was like for you going to Ohio State, wrestling the Big Ten? What was that experience like as a whole?
Ohio State was awesome, man. Of course, I have some things I wish I could change, woulda, coulda, looking back, but overall, it was phenomenal. I stayed there for 5 years afterwards to train under Lou Roselli as my freestyle coach, and it was just we had the partners, we had it turned into 11th in the Big Ten, turned into what it is today, where they're really challenging for Big Ten titles and national titles every year. And I just had great partners, great atmosphere, a really great place to go to school. I met my wife there. It was just a really phenomenal place for me. But the Big Ten is such a grind for a guy like me. I'm a technique guy. I want to try and slick and do wrestling moves. And these guys all want to beat us up and just hand fight. Even when you beat them up, you beat them 7-2 until you really separate yourself, just like those first 2 years. Um, you beat them 7-2 and you feel like you got just beat up. You win the next week 4-2, win Friday 3-2, Sunday 4-2. Like it's just over and over. Guys really trying to come at you. I remember my senior year, I had a kid from Michigan. He was 0-15. He was a four-time state champ, and he was coming at me. I'm like, can I get a break at some point? So I don't know if I would love to choose Big Ten again, if I could do it again. And then I think being stuck at 33 for as long as I was, I think I impeded my progress. I think I was as good as I was, and I kind of stayed there. And my focus was solely on cutting weight. But we had Jaggers above me and Lance Palmer above him. So even if I could have beat those guys, we never even thought about it because it would have killed the team. I had to be 33. I didn't get
Sacrifice,
to
yeah.
move up. Yeah, so we just kind of had to do it to make the team. But I wish I wouldn't have been stuck at 33. I wish I could have been 41 for a lot longer and just grown my skills. But it worked out very, very well.
Yeah.
So it could have been worse going up to 41. Who knows? So yeah, it was an awesome play.
100%. And I mean, you look at this new generation of Ohio State with these young guys that they brought in this year. It only time tells to when they're pushing Penn State, they're pushing Iowa. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think the group they brought in this year, I mean, not very often do you see one school get the 1, 2, and 3 off of the big board.
Yep.
So
Uh-huh. And Anthony Ralph is one of the best recruiters in the game. Tom Ryan is right up there as well. And then Jaggers, they're all just really phenomenal coaches. And then when they had Travell, that was awesome too. But now Bo Jordan stepped into that role. And Logan Stever, he's hanging out over there, coaching the RTC, and
mhm,
he's definitely around there. So, I mean, they got a really good thing going. They got that nice new facility. They got some good new freshmen. They got some guys performing really well. Ohio State's a really good place to be.
100%. Now let's switch up the color a little bit and talk about a little bit of orange. So
Let's go. Let's go. I was getting ready to make the
obviously
transition myself.
your senior level stuff, you make it on 3-time US Open champ. You go ahead and you make it on the world team a handful of times. So you pretty much succeeded at everything that you would want to do at the senior level. So now you go ahead and you're now working with the New Jersey RTC, primarily Princeton.
Hmm.
So talk a little bit about Princeton. I mean, this year you guys were able to bring home a national title with Pat Glory, and we were able to sit down with Pat pretty much the week after nationals, and
Oh,
just the way he
awesome.
talked about the staff over at Princeton and the things that you guys were able to do for him and push him to that next level. So talk a little bit about Princeton.
Princeton, what it's just like I'll preach about Ohio State coaches. These guys at Princeton have taken me to a whole new level, man. These guys, they basically have their hands tied with the athletes that they can get. You have to be extremely, extremely top of the tier academically. They have guys with 4.0s trying to get in, and they can't. The administration will not budge. They don't get very many slots, and even when they do, their test scores still have to be insanely high to get these kids into school. There's plenty of really blue chip recruits that they can't get. And so their hands are tied a lot. So I credit a lot of their success to how special these kids are. For one, they get their academics done. They have full-time jobs, like way more than what I did in the Big Ten academically. And then they got to wrestle, then they got to cut weight. And so the guys that like Pat Glory and Quincy Monday that can be cool, get their school done at a high level, and still win on the mat and be super tough. These guys can literally do whatever they want to do in life, and it's a product of Chris Ayers and the staff there. Joe Dubuque is phenomenal. Sean Gray, Nate Jackson being around all the time. These guys have shaped me into the coach I am today, and they're lighthearted. They're easygoing. They're very tough when they need to be. It's one of the most high energy rooms I've ever been in, even in the middle of the season when things are going crazy and there's pressure on. These guys have energy. They're laughing. They're working really hard. They're getting their school done. It's a different type of focus over at Princeton, and I couldn't be happier with my choice to come hang out and do the RTC thing over here.
100%. And I think, we've seen the Princeton's on it up. This is a big year for them, being able
Huge.
to get Quincy on the podium and, to get why can't I Pat to get
Glory.
Pat
Yeah.
on the to get Glory on the top of the podium. I know that was huge for Princeton to get another national champ. It was I what 50 plus years,
72 years.
72 years
The
without a national
first, yeah,
champion,
the
and
only guy we got up there has unfortunately passed away. So we only have one living NCAA champ, and that's Pat Glory. So it's a game changer for the program. They're proving that you can do it at an Ivy League school as hard as Princeton
100%.
University. And man, what a game
The Ivies
changer.
are
The
on and up,
recruiting's going to
man.
be good. It's
It's out with
definitely on the
Princeton.
up.
We've seen it with Cornell. Obviously the last couple of years,
Hmm.
Cornell has been
Yeah.
able to solidify themselves as a top five team in the country with,
Hmm.
as well being an Ivy League education. And I think it's special because it's like when all is said and done in your career, a Big Ten schools are a great degree, but you
Hmm.
can't beat a Cornell or a Princeton. You can't beat that type of degree. If you go to a job interview and you got a guy from Ohio State and a guy from Princeton, who do you think is going to kind of have the upper
Not
hand there
even
a little
close.
bit?
Not even close.
Yeah. So it's awesome that you're able to do this, and we got to talk a little about you and Brucky, man. I
Let's
think we
go.
see we see you guys all over the internet doing some of the funniest things out there. So talk a little about the relationship you built with him and kind of that friendship that you have and all the crazy
Hmm.
stuff that you guys do together.
Yeah, man, that's my boy. That's my brother at this point. He was my athlete at the NJRTC, and he started to get pretty good towards the end of his career, but it was time for him to move on and get into the work world. And so he's doing that. And then we got this great idea of adult wrestling. He was like,
I
man, I
love
still
that.
need this outlet that I want to, put my hands on people and still learn technique. And so we created the OGWC, the original gangster wrestling club, the old guy, old girl wrestling club. And man, it's going crazy right now. So we've been doing it for over a year. These classes are hilariously fun. It's a group of like-minded individuals that just want to get on the mat. They either want to help their kid, learn some technique to help their club, their community, or they just want to get in shape. We have people in there that have never wrestled. They're jujitsu people that want to work on their stand-up. So it's such a good idea, and we're right now, currently, that's what I was working on before I called you. Is we're trying to make this thing go nationwide. So if you need some information, you want to help us with that, anybody
We
out
would love
there,
to.
we need the biggest team that we can get because we're trying to bring wrestling to be accessible and to be available for everybody.
We would
If you
love
look
to.
on every corner, there's jujitsu gyms, and they crush this market. And I really truly think that we can change the world. The world is way too soft in 2023. The world needs wrestling, and we can make that happen. So
I agree.
there's
We'll
combat
we'll
sports going to
talk.
be available.
We'll
Yeah, come
talk
on.
definitely.
Oh, you can help. Let's go. We need
We could
heavyweights out here, man.
we could definitely talk we could talk a little bit on what Heavyweight Nation could do to help you out a little bit. We'll definitely talk after we finish filming. We'll talk a little bit
Sick.
and
Let's go.
see what we could do.
But yeah,
So
man, there's so many
I
people out
love
there
that idea.
that can
I
help. Yeah,
100%
man.
love. I love that idea because you see, like, I remember wrestling at Mawa's, wrestling heavyweight at Mawa's, and there was this one guy, this old dude that would
One
come
dude.
strapped up with the singlet, wrestling
That's probably the
heavyweight.
judge.
I was like, man, like, why are you here?
Right, right.
Like,
Yeah. And it used to be like that. It used to be
uh-huh.
weird. No, I went
Hmm.
to the War at the Shore, and
Hmm.
dude, there's like 20 adults from 25 to 40 scrapping. They
Hmm.
wrestle with their club kids every day.
Hmm.
They think, like, man, if I knew what I know now, I'd be pretty good. Well, now you can toe the line. It's not weird. Go to Vegas next week. The Masters event, that division, it's getting good. These guys are really good. Ever since I wrestled at the Veteran Worlds, I think that started a wave of people being like, dude, why won't I wrestle? And you can wrestle to compete, and you could do these classes for that, or you could just wrestle to get in shape. You could wrestle to watch MMA in a different way. But people love wrestling, and it's not available past 18 unless you wrestle at the D1 or NCAA level. So man, we're starting it. We need help. Is what we need.
100%. I
Mhm.
think it'd be awesome. I know I was thinking about getting back into it. I wrestled a full year at Division II college and I got hurt and I was like, man, like not about wrestling anymore. Just
Mhm.
kind of just
Yeah,
took a lot away from me. So I'm thinking,
yeah,
man, I see seeing about this beach wrestling stuff. I'm like, man, this would be
yeah.
interesting to try out maybe this summer.
Yeah,
Think about
and
it. And
so yeah, dude, and it comes in waves. Like maybe it wasn't the right time when you got hurt or things weren't going well. You had a bad coach or a bad situation, but we changed the stigma of wrestling from being aggressive and hand fighting and headbutting to a hobby. You can come in there and you can roll because what I'll tell you, I don't want to do is get on the treadmill for an hour and a half. But I do want to keep my mind busy and solve this puzzle called human chess that we play, and we're going to make that available. But switching subjects, you just said beach wrestling, so no one knows this yet. So we're going to drop this on Heavyweight Nation. If Nate Jackson wins the Open next week, he'll be the Pan Am representative for USA, or the USA representative at the Pan Am Games. There's a beach wrestling event the 7th and 8th, which is the next 2 days afterwards. I'm already registered, but I won't go. I
Unless Nate
won't
wins.
go unless Nate wins. So I was just watching Nate at practice the other day. I'm like, dang, this dude is looking on point. I started thinking like, he's gonna win, and I
Let me
go,
tell you, he's a heavy favorite at
yeah,
92.
Colin Moore
Cox,
is
Cox
very
step
good.
down. Kim
Yep.
and Colin Moore are those two guys. If
Colin
he
Moore,
could,
they've separated themselves. But I was looking at Nate and I was thinking how good he is, and then I looked at the scale and I go, damn, I'm 10 over. I go, oh shit, am I actually gonna wrestle? Is this
uh-huh.
happening?
And the thing about beach wrestling and heavyweight is it's unlimited. There's no
Uh,
weight class for heavyweight beach wrestling. So
Big
I was
boys
thinking,
out there.
man, because the guy who represents the USA wrestles at Life U, a JUCO college, and my one teammate on our women's team at the college I went to, she's the representative for Team USA. So
Okay.
she was like, yeah, like these guys over from like and she was made it all the way to Worlds and all that, and she
Okay.
was like,
Awesome.
yeah, you should see these guys that come out of the Middle East. It's like they're like 385, like 400 pounds, these big
Sick.
Middle Eastern dudes. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this now. Like,
Yeah, right.
I don't know if I want to go up against a 350
Yeah.
pound
I don't think you
Dagestani
don't have to
Russian.
go.
Like,
You don't have to go to the worlds and compete, man. But beach wrestling is the future too, man.
it's fun. I think
It's the only
it's you're outside, you're having fun, like you're on a beach. How can you be mad about a loss when you're on the beach?
think about the spectator standpoint. All these moms, instead of being stuck in a gym, you could be on the beach with a pina colada watching your boy or girl go to scrap.
That's a cool idea there. It's
Right.
definitely. I hope Nate wins. I hope Nate wins.
Oh,
You
me
might
too,
be
bro. I'm ready. I'm ready to
you
scrap.
might be like, no offense to anybody on the beach wrestling team, but you might be like the highest caliber like of wrestler, like with the best background
Yes.
ever to like step on the beach wrestling scene.
Yeah, I did it once in Brazil. Flow Wrestling actually paid for me to go, and it was awesome. But I didn't realize how good these dudes were. I thought it was like a
It's a different
veteran type of
style. It's a
thing. No,
different
these
style
guys
of
are
wrestling. Yeah.
they're very good. So I've got a much better game plan. I don't really get a chance to practice it that much, but I'm in shape. I'm taking it very seriously. I'm ready to go if I get that chance. So hopefully.
If it happens. Yeah, we've been seeing Reece a lot at the local park in the sand pit doing some moves. I don't know what he's doing, but it's an interesting to see him. But no, I love the idea, man. Getting the adults interested, even if it's those wrestling dads that we were talking about earlier. You know,
Mhm.
maybe you see somebody act a little bit of a fool at a tournament. You're like, hey, I run this thing. I want you to come down and I want you to go through
Come
full
through.
practice to see what
Yeah,
your boy
right.
goes through.
Yeah, everybody says just get up. Like you
Uh-huh.
get up. You get
Yeah.
up, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Let Nate Jackson get on top. Let Brucky get on top of you.
Yeah,
You want to see
man.
you get up.
It is. It's such a difference. And so that's what we're dishing out perspective at these classes. Sometimes you think that if they're not trying because they can't get away. But in reality, if you don't know the technique or you're getting beat, it can be very almost impossible to get up, until you figure out how to do that technically. And so it's hard for parents to grasp that because they think they were whatever they were when they were competing, and they're so far removed from it, so they just lose that perspective, and it's not their fault. But as soon as you step on the mat again, you realize how exhausting it is. You realize how hard it is to keep your head up, and how impossible it is sometimes to just get up. You have to. There's a lot of technique, a lot of hours that go into that. So we gain that perspective. They're going to be nicer to their kids. They're going to actually have and be able to provide good advice from the sidelines instead of just screaming like, "Are you trying?" Like, no, teach them how to get up. And so that's what we're doing, man.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome that you've been doing this and you've been able to show kind of adults some stuff and get people into shape. And I think that's super awesome thing that you and Brucky are doing. So
Thanks,
staying on
man.
the topic of you and Brucky, we got to talk about the music.
Let's go.
Where did you guys come up with the idea to start making music?
So I've kind of always done it, like since high school. I just would write, and I would carry my little boombox around, show my mom the song I was writing. It's just an outlet for creativity, and I would always say, like, man, I think I could be so much better, but I have nobody to push me or keep me consistent. And I would always yell at Brucky, whenever we're hanging out drinking or something, like, dude, why don't you do this? Because he likes to freestyle and all that. And why don't you take it seriously for a second? And my boy took off. My guy took off, man. He is nonstop. He's obsessed with it, and he pushes me to the next level all the time. So it's just like wrestling, man. So we put music out, and everybody thinks it should be radio quality, but in reality, we're 6 months into this project, and we don't know anything of what we're doing. But with that said, it's just like wrestling, and uh, there hasn't been many tasks that I've tried for a long time and been unsuccessful at. So
Very true.
just wait and see what we got cooking up. What's out right now? This last little EP called "What's the Move" out on Spotify. You can go to highlight Humphrey and Young Bruck and check that out. I think it's pretty good quality, but this stuff that we're working on, we probably got 20, 30 more songs. This is us right here. We're no genre. It's backwards right now, but we're no genre. We got country songs. We got rap songs. We got
No, no,
R&B.
it's right. We could see it. We're good. Yeah, it
Okay.
says no
Oh, it
genre.
is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And, but man, we got something for everybody. We got an EDM song coming out. We got this one called "Motherfucker, I'm Old, but I'm just getting started. Get drunk,
That's
turn up, where the party?"
that's I'm excited. I'm excited to see you and Brucky hop on a country track. I'm a big country guy, so
Okay, yeah,
hopefully
check out why don't you go check it out? Whiskey Out the Wine Glass is from our last album, first one we put out, but we learned not to rush things because there's so many things we wish we would have fixed on that. But we just wanted to get something out. And so we did that. And bro, I'm just all about just do and then deal with the haters later. And then but
at the end of the day, who are the haters? You're Reece Humphrey.
well,
Like
yeah,
you,
yeah. Oh, they're
like
out there. They're
at
out
the end
there,
of the
buddy.
day, like let's be honest. Like we were talking about this the other day. We were talking about like people that like we were talking to I forget who it was, an NCAA champion was talking about like playing how he plays video games.
Hmm.
And I'm like, how do you respond to people talking trash to you on video games when you're like, yeah, I'm an NCAA champ? Like, okay. Like
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
you're in your mom's basement right now, and
Yeah.
I just won the NCAAs. Like,
Yeah,
cool.
man. But yeah, CJ and I, we do everything together. We're really working hard to try and grow this adult wrestling thing. But music is such a fun thing. Whenever uh, the night is winding down, we're always going to start freestyling or work on these tracks that we're starting to get close to finalizing. But it's such a process, and it's just like wrestling, man. You get your head beaten in, and then you get some creativity and fix a couple parts here. You want this to be perfect, but it's not. So you spend more time on that. But man, we're getting some close. We got some really funny tracks coming out. I think you guys are going to like it.
That's awesome to hear. So we'll kind of hop into it. Just a couple of quick fire questions for you. Question number one: what is your favorite wrestling shoe ever?
The aggressors were my favorite to wear. The scrap life, these ascend ones, those aggressors like from way back in the day when I was training, I love those. But the scrap life ascend ones, these things are the most comfortable shoes I've ever put on immediately out of the box. Put them on, rock those things. That's what I wear every single day. And I mean, out of anything that's out right now, I think it's a easy choice.
Send ones.
Hmm.
Good choice. We've heard that a couple times from a couple people here. A lot of that, a lot of Rulons. A lot of people like the old school
Yeah, yeah.
Rulons back
Back
in
in
the
the day,
day.
yeah, those
Hmm.
that's what the aggressors were made out of, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my favorite from back in the day. But yeah, these Ascends, I mean, they'll send me these shoes and I'll put them on, boom, I'll rock them in competition the first day I wear them.
Yeah, you don't have to break them in or anything there.
I don't even have to wear shoes anymore in my beach wrestling career. But
Yeah, man. Reece is starting his beach wrestling career. Now, do you think you'll just do that event or do you think you'll follow the circuit?
so this event, if it qualifies me, this is the reason why I really want to do it. It qualifies me to go to Bali for the Worlds, and it's the
Yeah.
beach wrestling game. So there's
Yep.
beach volleyball, beach soccer, beach everything. So it'll
Hmm.
be almost like the Olympics, but for beach. And I think they're just testing it out because I think they're looking at least women's beach wrestling in 2028. And if I ever leave this job, it'll be for the Olympic head beach wrestling coach. That's it.
Let's go. There's Reese's pitch there for the Olympic people there, Olympic committee. Reece Humphreys wants to be the women's beach wrestling coach.
Yeah.
So next one for you, your favorite song of all time, and then your favorite pump up song. You're getting ready to wrestle. You got the headphones on. What are both of those?
Oh man, dude, that's such a hard thing. So I used to listen to a lot of R&B like way back in the day. So maybe like some Chris Brown stuff. It's just that stuff always spoke to me. And I don't even need to pick a song. So like old school Usher, Drake is anything Drake all the time. Um, Favorite pump up song, and it's just that's what a tough question, bro.
It is a tough question.
It's tough. But yeah, I mean, it's anything that gets me moving. I got to be able to dance to it. But yeah, I can't even pick one. No, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
speaking of dancing, there is a video of you out there break dancing after you was it won a state title?
yeah. My first state title. I learned how to break dance like the week before. My coach could do it, and we are like, we gotta do this. And we had a month, and he was teaching us every day. We couldn't do it, and I could like do it sometimes and totally fall on my face. The other times I won, I'm like, fuck it, I'm sending it. And I break dance, won my first state title. I did it, and then I did it when I made the world team 2015. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I think we saw that a little bit too, but like when Gable did the backflip for the first time, we were like,
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
if that would have went wrong, it would have been just as funny.
yeah,
But it was
right. Yeah.
yeah, it would have been super awesome. I think that's super clever. And we had Pat Glory on, and he was talking about how he thinks that they should make the NCAA final like walkouts more like the WWE. We need to
Yeah,
see
that's
some
what he
people in
did.
some cool costumes with some cool walkout songs. You saw him walk
Uh-huh.
out to Old Glory with the flag.
That
I
was
thought that was
amazing.
super cool.
Yeah, we were sitting
Super
in the
cool.
back. We were sitting in the back, and I didn't know he was going to put that flag on. We're standing back there, and he puts the flag on. He starts walking out. I go, "Ooh, he's going to win now." As confident as he looked, Ayers looked at me. He goes, "Well, he better win. He better win if he's going to act like that." And I'm like, "Dang!"
Uh-huh.
But I mean, what a baller move to the most high pressure match of all time, and you're going to put some extra pressure on you by throwing the flag on. But what a gangster move, and it helped him get in the zone. So I was all for it because that was
100%.
cool.
Super dope. So usually my co-host Matt is from New Jersey, so he would
Mhm.
usually ask this question, being that you have since now become a Jersey boy. So it would be a sin without me asking you, is it Taylor ham or pork roll?
I stay out of that.
You're not from Jersey, so you stay out of it.
I stay out of it, man. So the coaches are on both sides of it. I totally stay out of it, man. So I don't care for one. I don't care. I call Jersey my home, but I don't have a preference on it. But these guys will literally fist fight over whether it's
Hmm.
called pork roll or Taylor ham.
Yeah.
I'm like, just eat it and shut up.
I don't know what I've never had it because I'm from PA, so like that's not a
You
thing
can't
down
even do
here.
it. Yeah,
So
right.
I'm like,
Well, you got
what
to
even
get
is
one of
it
them.
made out of? Like, what is it? Like, what is this?
Well,
Like,
it's either Taylor ham or pork roll, Canadian bacon, and then there's egg, and then it's on a bagel or a croissant. These are big
big
topics.
things in Jersey.
These are
Yeah.
big things
Do they fight over
that
like
should.
which type of bagel it's on too, or is
Yes,
that?
yes,
Oh
yes.
God.
There's things that are a sin. I don't even know, so I don't even want to say it because I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Reece doesn't want to get 50 DMs after this video.
Yeah,
Don't talk about it. Just
yeah, no, I stay out of it, man. It's too political.
100%. So obviously, got to touch a little bit about your boy. He's obviously, we see a ton of videos about you taking him in wrestling and stuff. And
Yeah, yeah.
so, what's that kind of been like to you to see it from the dad point of view now? Other than you've been an athlete and a coach for so long. So, what's it like now being a dad going to these wrestling tournaments?
The most fun thing ever, but also very difficult. So I've been on it from both perspective. I got coached by my dad, and it's so difficult because you can't say no to coach, but you can say no to dad. So it's such a different dynamic. So I have to stay a little bit hands off. That's why it's so good. I could be in the Princeton Wrestling Club room and have Dubuque coach him, Gray coach him, Nate helping out. We got a whole family, so we could take each other's kids and be coach. And then we'll help them obviously as much as we can along the process. But yeah, I try to stay really hands off, but now my son he really wants to win, so I'm trying to push him but I waited for him to ask me. He really needed to ask me before I could step in there because he just wants help at this point, and I'm busy and I'm wrestling 3 times a day, so it's difficult for me to find all the time in the world to help him, but I care about that more than anything. Him to be out there and to have fun and be successful. And the kid wants to scrap every single weekend, and so I let him, and we learn the lessons, and we just have a blast the whole time. It's a lot of me and him time, which has been really cool too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, when we talk to Nate Jackson as well, it's been awesome seeing like you senior level guys, and we see it a ton with Jordan Burroughs. You
Mm-hmm.
guys kind of balance the father and athlete and coach kind of aspect where we see like you guys bring the kids to the room, and
Oh yeah.
Nate Jackson's got his
Hmm.
kids in the room, and JB's got his kids all over
Oh
the
yeah.
room
Hmm.
up in Penn. And I think it's cool to see that you guys are still, working your tails off, but also now your kids get to come and enjoy,
Yeah,
those
it's
moments.
really fun. Yeah, Chance Marsteller's in the room with us, and he had his kids in there. Nate had his kids in there. There's a damn zoo in there the other day during practice, but it's all part of it, man. We love it. It's just they're growing up together, just
Mm-hmm.
being around on the
Growing up
dressing
and
room.
growing around the sport,
Yeah.
I think that it would be awesome to see some of where your guys' kids are at in 10, 15 years
Right, right.
when,
Yeah.
see how crazy their career is going to be. So one final question kind of as a closer here, and we'll do this a little different. You could take three of anybody that's in the NJRTC with you into the zombie apocalypse. Who would they be and why?
Well, I'm taking Nate because he's got the length. He can keep these dudes just post up on their forehead, let them chase us. He's gonna be posting up, saving us. I'll probably I'll take Matt Kaladzic because he's gonna be calculating what angle we have to double leg these guys, and he's gonna have all that planned out and prepped so we could stay alive. And then you got to have Ayers because he's the master planner, and he's gonna run this thing, and he'll keep us safe. And then I'll just be chilling in the back, hanging out.
Making some music.
Yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
be doing the soundtrack.
Reece, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. We had some good fun, some good laughs. It's been a great time, and we appreciate you giving us your time today. Of
All right, Derek. Thanks, man.
course,
Appreciate
man.
you.
It's been another episode of the Heavyweight Nation podcast. We'll see you guys later.